President Donald Trump's tariff policy is causing waves not only in the United States, but also around the world, sparking a strong backlash from all sides. Is this a strategic move to make the U.S. economy great again, or will it lead the country into an unpredictable financial crisis? These bold decisions are not only causing dissatisfaction among the American people, but they are also heightening fears about the future. Protests have erupted in major cities, while states and thousands of economists have voiced their criticism. So, will this tariff policy truly bring long-term benefits as Trump expects, or is it simply a high-stakes gamble with the global economy? Keep reading to explore the mixed reactions and unfolding developments as the future of the U.S. economy stands at a crucial crossroads. Just a few months into his presidency, a shocking number was revealed. Only 39% of Americans were satisfied with how Donald Trump was handling the country. This marked a dramatic 6% drop since February and was the lowest approval rating in 80 years for any president's first 100 days. Can you imagine the level of disappointment? Trump, who had initially enjoyed strong support, was now facing this disheartening number. What's even more surprising is that the previous record low approval was also his own, set back in 2017, when it stood at just 42%. This had many people asking, is Trump steering the country in the wrong direction right from the start of his term? Concerns about the U.S. economy were mounting. A recent survey found that 72% of people believed Trump's economic policies would push the country into a recession in the short term. And no one could deny this reality, as 72% of respondents agreed that the economy was currently in poor shape. Even more concerning, 53% said their personal financial situation had worsened since Trump took office. Are his decisions pushing the economy toward a dead end, or is this just a temporary challenge the country must overcome? These questions hang in the air, and it's clear that the answers won't come easily in the near future. When President Trump first announced his plan to control inflation, many Americans felt hopeful. They believed that with his bold actions, the economy would soon stabilize. But reality turned out to be quite different. Over 60% of Americans reported that the prices of essential goods like food and gasoline were skyrocketing. This was clearly at odds with Trump's promise. His tariff policies, which many initially thought would boost the economy, ended up becoming the culprit behind the ever-increasing prices. And as time went on, the situation worsened, with 71% of Americans believing that these very tariffs were the main cause of rising inflation. No matter how much Trump tried to explain and defend his decisions, only 31% of the population agreed with his reasoning, that the tariffs would lay a solid foundation for the long-term development of the U.S. economy. And this is the big question we all have to face. Will these policies truly strengthen the U.S. economy, or are they just pushing the country into a more difficult situation? While President Trump's tariff policies are causing significant turbulence in the economy, there's another issue that's worrying Americans just as much: presidential power. Gradually, more and more people are beginning to feel that Trump is pushing beyond the boundaries of authority set by the Constitution. Over 60% of the public believes that he is deliberately avoiding decisions made by federal courts, as if he refuses to accept the checks and balances of the judicial system. Additionally, 64% think he is abusing his power, expanding the role of the presidency to a concerning degree. This has left many Americans uneasy about the future of their democracy. But the concerns don't end there. A recent survey revealed that between 57% and 67% of Americans are dissatisfied with how Trump has handled major issues, such as stock market volatility, tariffs, foreign relations, and the economy in general. Even more alarming, 53% strongly oppose his approach to immigration, believing he's going too far and not fully understanding the long-term consequence. So, is Trump truly abusing his power, or is he just trying to do things his own way, regardless of public backlash? This question will undoubtedly continue to weigh heavily on the minds of many Americans in the coming months. When President Trump's policies failed to win public approval, hundreds of protests erupted across the United States, reflecting a strong sense of dissatisfaction with his administration. People not only opposed the tariffs, but also expressed outrage over controversial decisions, such as the deportation of immigrants, the firing of federal employees, and in particular, interventions in the wars in Gaza and Ukraine. The situation escalated when the 50,501 movement was formed, with the goal of organizing protests in all 50 states and attracting up to 11 million participants. From Washington, New York, and Chicago to Drose Island, Maryland, Wisconsin, Tennessee, South Carolina, Ohio, Kentucky, California, and Pennsylvania, crowds of protesters took to the streets, demanding change from the government. This was not the first wave of protest, but the fourth since Trump took office, and notably, it was the second protest wave within the last month. The growing sense of dissatisfaction and anger is spreading as Americans continue to raise their voices, expressing discontent and a desire for change, hoping for a better future. These protests are not just a reaction to specific decisions, but also an expression of anxiety and unease about the direction Trump is steering the country. Trump's tariff policies have sparked not only public outcry, but also fierce opposition from state governments across the U.S. 12 states have taken the unprecedented step of suing the Trump administration, arguing that the president does not have the constitutional authority to impose tariffs without the approval of Congress. States such as Oregon, Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Minnesota, Nevada, New Mexico, New York, and Washington have all joined forces in this legal battle, voicing their concerns that Trump's actions are an overreach of executive power, undermining the checks and balances that the U.S. political system is built upon. This legal challenge highlights the growing tension between the executive branch and state governments as they struggle to safeguard their powers and prevent a shift towards unchecked presidential authority. But the opposition doesn't stop at the state level. A wave of dissent has emerged from the academic and economic communities, with nearly 1,400 prominent economists, many of whom are leading voices in their fields, including Nobel laureates like James Hackman and Venom Smith, speaking out against Trump's tariff policies. These experts argue that the tariffs not only lack solid economic justification, but also pose significant risks to both the U.S. economy and its global trade relationships. According to them, the trade war is likely to hurt American businesses, raise costs for consumers, and disrupt global markets in ways that could have long-term negative effects. From experts to lawmakers, there is a growing consensus that continuing down this path without reevaluating the broader consequences will lead to economic instability. The growing opposition from both states and economists highlights the deep concern over the tariff policy's impact. The collective belief is that the current strategy cannot continue without causing more harm than good. As public outcry and expert warnings intensify, the pressure is mounting on Trump to reconsider his approach. The unfolding battle over the tariffs underscores the complex and far-reaching consequences of his trade decisions, and it's clear that this is far from a straightforward issue. The coming months will likely reveal whether these challenges will force a change in policy or if the administration will press forward despite mounting criticism. Trump's tariff policy is not only causing disruption within the U.S., but also attracting global attention. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has warned that the tariffs imposed by Trump will slow down global economic growth this year. This will not only severely affect the U.S. economy, but also cause significant harm to its trade partners, particularly China. The high tariffs on imports from dozens of countries, along with the 10% tariff on most U.S. imports, could push the U.S. economy into a difficult position, leading to instability in global markets. After months of intense confrontation over tariffs, signs suggest that the U.S. is starting to ease tensions with China. President Trump has admitted that a trade deal with China is possible, and even mentioned the possibility of reducing tariffs on Chinese goods to alleviate tensions. However, the response from China and other countries has not been simple. Chinese President Xi Jinping has strongly criticized America's tariff policies, arguing that they not only harm the international trading system, but also negatively affect global stability. European officials are also expressing concern that, without a deal, these tariffs will not only harm the U.S., but also severely impact the European economy. Every move in this trade war is being closely monitored, as it not only affects the U.S. and China, but could also lead to major shocks to the global economy. Will the parties involved find common ground, or will tensions continue to escalate? The world is at a critical crossroads, where Trump's decisions could reshape a new era in international relations. After months of heightened tension, President Trump has once again made headlines with new moves in his tariff policy. One of the most talked about changes is the possibility of reducing tariffs on Chinese goods, combined with an ambitious proposal to replace income taxes for individuals earning less than $200,000, 0 cents per year with tariffs. It's clear this is an attempt to calm rising domestic frustrations and to win over those feeling the pinch from rising costs, especially those in the lower income brackets. But here's the real question. Will these changes actually address the bigger, underlying problems that continue to weigh down the U.S. economy? While it might seem like Trump is hoping to offer a quick fix to the public's growing concerns, not everyone is convinced that this is the answer. Economists who constantly evaluate the country's financial health have raised red flags. They argue that Trump's plan lacks solid grounding and won't solve critical issues like skyrocketing prices, the looming risk of economic recession, or the ongoing financial instability. Despite his best efforts, it seems that many people remain skeptical that temporary measures can truly stabilize the economy, especially when the long-term challenges remain largely unaddressed. So, what does the future hold for the tariff policy? Will Trump be able to shift the course and turn things around, or are his moves just a temporary distraction? While the answers to these questions are still up in the air, one thing is certain. The road ahead for the U.S. economy is anything but smooth. The challenges are real, and finding an effective solution will require more than just a quick fix. It's going to take deep, meaningful reforms to steer the country toward a stable and prosperous future. The uncertainty around the tariff policy only adds to the tension, and it remains to be seen whether Trump's next moves will lead to lasting change or more economic struggles for the U.S. Will Trump's tariff policy succeed in revitalizing the U.S. economy, or will it merely push the country into a deeper economic crisis? The reality is that current signs suggest the economy may face significant long-term challenges, with high tariffs driving up prices and creating difficulties for both businesses and consumers. America's trade partners, particularly China, are reacting strongly, and if the situation isn't controlled, it could lead to an endless trade war. So, where is the future of tariff policy headed? Even with Trump's strategies to reduce tariffs and replace income taxes, the outcome remains uncertain. The long-term impacts of these decisions will have far-reaching consequences for the global economy, especially for the U.S. trade partners.